My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like soreness.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one-stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. I'm Daniel, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, abduction, kidnapping. We have a video that we're going to be watching. Lena from Truth and Transparency had spoken with Carlos, who is the first guy that was detained, so to speak, by law enforcement. And he gave her, let me turn that down, guys. I apologize for that. He had given her access to the search warrant, and she read it on one of her lives. And we're going to listen to it, and I'm going to kind of go through my opinions and thoughts on what it is that they're looking for, what it is that law enforcement knew at that time, what may have changed since then, and so much more. There's a lot to really break down, guys. So I hope you guys brought your popcorn and your drinks, because we're going to be in for maybe about an hour and a half tonight, possibly, maybe a little bit less. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. You guys know what to do. If I'm a little jittery, I'm a little bit excited. For those who I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. So for those that are into the Pokemon cards, I do it, and I'm trying to get my littlest one into it, but my buddies are into it, and they got me into it a little bit. And I actually pulled one of the chase cards just about 20 minutes before the show starts, a $800 card. And so I am excited about that. So that out of the way, let's get into today's show. So let's pull up Lena's video, and this is from, let's see, and I asked Lena, I reached out to her, asked her if it was all right if I showed her video, and she said yes, of course. We actually may end up doing a live kind of talking about this case in the near future. And so this was actually from about a month ago, and this is called Nancy Guthrie breaking an exclusive search warrant for subject Carlos Palazuelos obtained. And so let's hear what's going on.
All right, guys, welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Breaking news, Nancy Guthrie case. This is an exclusive. I obtained the 3 search warrants that were served after the fact to Carlos. He was the subject that was detained, according to him.
So first and foremost, she also did an interview with Carlos, and this is why I think this is probably going to take a while, because I'm going to be stopping this very often. She had interviewed Carlos, and Carlos said that he wasn't aware of what was even going on until after the fact. So what does that say? That says a lot of things. That says that the ball was rolling fairly quickly with law enforcement. They didn't have a lot of information. They felt that they had to act fast. Now, why did they feel that they had to act fast? We got to put ourselves back in time and where law enforcement were at the time of this incident. Nancy Guthrie had just been abducted. There was a possibility that she was still alive. Time was of the essence. They needed to figure out whether or not this guy had her or not. And so they went in with what they had. So we got to put everything into perspective, right? So law enforcement in those scenarios are going to act quickly because time is of the essence, especially in that moment. Now, if they were to get the same amount of information today on a suspect that they did on Carlos, then given everything that's transpired since, the amount of time that has happened, do I think law enforcement would move as fast? No way. Not 1 second. I mean, they would have taken their time, made sure, maybe even brought the guy in for questioning. I mean, you know, they also don't want somebody to destroy evidence, etc. And so they probably are going to do 2 warrants at the same time if they have enough to do the warrants or they feel confident. I'm not necessarily certain that it would have gone down as quickly as this one. So first things first, we have to put everything into perspective. Nothing is perfect for anybody. This is real life, and law enforcement isn't gonna, they were running against the clock, when it comes to Nancy's life. So if you agree with me, hit the like button. All right, let's continue.
Arrested. But let's just get into these 3 search warrants. And I've also obtained exclusive talks with him. But most importantly, Truth and Transparency was able to get Carlos and his family into contact with a very reputable law firm in that area that deals with civil rights litigation. So we all have our rights here, okay, and those should be protected. So that was first and foremost. Our goal was to,
I'm not entirely sure what she's alluding to there as far as his rights being violated. He was detained. He wasn't arrested. Now, well, let's watch it and we'll figure it out.
Get information, factual information, and then also if there's something that people that don't know certain things, you got to help people out. So there were 3 search warrants that were served, and I am in possession of uno, dos, tres, 3 of them, and then I have the evidence that was collected, the control forms. I have 2 of those, so I'm going to go over what we have received. Now, this was it's in the Superior Court County of Pima State of Arizona, and this was again 3 of them. The first one was, it says proof by affidavit having been made this day. There are no affidavits with any of these, by the way. So it's saying to any peace officer in the state of Arizona, or in pen, or federal agent, and that's written in pen.
That's not uncommon, but what is kind of, I guess, odd is and I asked Lena this. I asked her today. I was like, "Hey, did you ever get the affidavit from Carlos?" And she said, "No, it's sealed." And I wasn't. From what I understood and understand, and it's been a long time since I've been in law enforcement, and I wasn't in the feds or anything like that. And so I'm not sure how they work their warrants, if they can somehow get those sealed from also the subject or the suspect or the person that you're serving the warrant on. But in every warrant that I've been a part of, the affidavit says why. I mean, I could even go into, because it's been a long time since I've been in law enforcement, but in the Libby and Abby murders out there in Delphi with Richard Allen, in that case, they did a search warrant against Ron Logan. And in that search warrant, there was a lot of information as to why, what, where, and why they believe that it was Ron Logan, et cetera. That's not in this case. So maybe it's a federal thing. Maybe they have the ability to keep it sealed against even the person that is getting the warrant served on them. Because from my opinion, and I don't know if Chloe's in the building or not, but I'm pretty positive the person having the search warrant searched on them needs to know why. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I was in law enforcement. And so maybe things have changed, but let me know. Let's see. Now, that aspect, she doesn't have it. I asked her if she had it now. She still doesn't. It's sealed. But there's a lot of information that she does have that can, in my opinion, kind of lead us in one direction or another. Let's continue.
So it says to any peace officer in the state of Arizona, and then in pen, it says or federal agent.
And I don't think that's weird. I think that's just giving the authority to the federal agents to also take into custody the subject if they were to find them. That's not an uncommon thing. What's probably going on here is that the sheriff's department probably used a document that is pre-printed already or already pre-uploaded on the computer, and it's already formatted for them, and they don't have one that includes the federal agent, so they had to add that in there. It's not necessarily in my opinion, anything. Is it sealed because they are not cleared? Angel Rose asks. No, it's more so sealed because they don't want the public to have some certain information, and I understand that, but I find it weird that they have it sealed to the subject that they're searching. That's the problem that I have. Like I get, not releasing it to the public, but that's how sometimes like media gets it, is because they go make contact with the person that got served and they get the copy from the individual that got served, and you can see what's on there. It's just weird, but it is still sealed. This is still an ongoing investigation. I don't anticipate it not being unsealed. I just find it weird that he himself, didn't get it.
Proof by affidavit having been made this day before me, detective, which I will redact right now, that there is probable cause to believe that herein incorporated by reference on the premises of Carlos, date of birth given and social security number given, male, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'10", are on the premises or building known as where Josefina at that Camino Augusto address there in Rio Rico, Arizona. It's a gray brick single story structure with a dark maroon trim, bars on the windows. So they read off all of that. And then in the vehicles described as, and then they give two different vehicles, which was a silver Nissan Sentra, and then a Nissan Rogue, and then a van.
What's going on, Steve? What about to the suspect? Again, it's been a long time since I've been a part of a warrant search, a search warrant. There goes my dyslexia coming in. Been a minute. I always remember. I mean, I don't remember ever having that sealed. But then again, I was never part of an investigation this massive, and so that also can be a big difference maker here, right? But given the fact that the warrants were sealed even to the subject, like he has no idea what gave law enforcement probable cause to detain him. I think that's an issue. I mean, I agree with Lena on this one. I think that's an issue. I think more for the safety concerns for the victim. That's a possibility. That's a good point.
A Ford van. So it was a white Ford delivery van.
And so the vehicles that they mentioned, 3 different distinct vehicles. We also know that there was a Range Rover that was also picked up in a different search. In an interview that Carlos does, he talks about the van, and he says that it has the insignia, or the insignia of the letters GLS, or I think is what they're called, on the side, and it's huge. Remember that, because I've been saying, and Steve kind of pointed it out too, is that we thought that this was a jammer, and in my opinion, I've said this a few times, I think he wanted to be seen on camera, probably because his affection was probably Savannah, and he wanted her to see him, and mission accomplished. Savannah and the rest of the world has seen what this guy looks like, what he was wearing, etc. And so, to me, I felt like he turned off that jammer. And I felt this from the beginning, that they didn't have any video of his vehicle. Now, that could be just because he cased out the area and planned out a route that he saw it would have been difficult for cameras to pick up his movement 100%. Or maybe perhaps he created a Wi-Fi jammer that could jam the signal for these security devices, and he made it strong enough that it would disrupt the cameras from a vehicle. I mean, he was wearing a significantly large backpack. In fact, I want to show you this really quick. This is about a few thieves out here, and I believe this is in Texas.
This doorbell camera video shows what Bel Air, Texas police say are skilled thieves.
You see what he's carrying right there? That looked like a stuffed backpack. Now, these are skilled thieves, right? I've been saying it for a while, that I think we're underestimating, or a lot of people are underestimating, the intelligence of this guy. I don't think this is some buffoon. I don't think this is a drunk or a druggie. that just so happened to go in there, either trying to score a robbery or maybe perhaps there's some guy on just randomly thought he's going to go in there and kidnap somebody. This guy had a lot of forethought, made a lot of pre-planning. I think he would be more intelligent to have gotten away with it from at this point. And he's also gotten away with it with some of the top officials of the FBI investigating this and overseeing this. Kash Patel was even involved. The president of the United States has been informed on this case. You can't get any higher than that. And so this guy has still eluded law enforcement. And so is it possible, if he is some sort of intelligent human being, that he may have created a jammer that was a lot stronger than the one that these guys are using? Because look at how close they have to get before it starts to make an effect.
Thieves approaching a suburban home, but look what happens as they get closer. The camera starts to glitch and the picture warps, all because police say the thieves are using a jammer, a small device that disables a home's Wi-Fi.
And so is that what he had in his pocket? There's other ones that are simply on a watch. Right now, to me, I think he wanted to be seen. If he had a jammer on right now, he's going to be seen here. But look, as he walks in, he ducks his head down. If he thought it was on, why is he, doing this motion? If he thought his jammer was on and it's just not working, or it's malfunctioned, or whatever the case, why is he hiding his face? Now he knows the jammer isn't on if he has one. This is a big, this is speculation on my side. If he has a jammer, he knows it's off and he knows that it's capturing him. He wants, the world to see that he has a gun and where it's at. See his get up, his whole 9 yards. Right. And then you have the backpack, which is also stuffed. I think I got a video of it. And then you have this image here at night. Now, a lot of people think that, well, maybe perhaps he, this is a different night. Now, Steve sent over this where you can see the plants here. Check out the appendages of the plants. They're exactly the same. Now, if anybody who grows plants or whatever, probably know that those things will move slightly. They'll follow the sun from January to February. A lot of people are assuming this is January. For those branches of the plant to be exactly the same place, I don't know. Now, he's not wearing a backpack now. Doesn't have the gun in front of him either. Now, perhaps he took the backpack off and he left it in the backyard, because according to the newest documents, there's nothing in the back. It picks up before and after the suspect is there, but while he's there, that camera doesn't pick anything up. The cameras that capture the pool, the side of the house, and the back of the house. Perhaps he walks up to the front, goes around the side. That's when he turns on his jammer, leaves it over there, right? Because he does. Maybe perhaps the only thing he's concerned about is he doesn't want law enforcement to see how he enters the building. And I'm assuming he enters the building from something outside of the front door. And then he comes back around. Maybe he's trying to find something. I don't know. Maybe the reason why he doesn't have a backpack here is because he left it in the back. So that way it is continually to malfunction the back cameras. Now, why is it so much darker? Let's go to the video. Let's go to this video real quick. When a person comes into focus, and I think this one's out of place, when it shows him walking up, let me see if I can find it. When the camera turns on, it's going to do some funny things. It takes a minute for it to. I'm going to try to go frame by frame. No, it's not letting me. See, here, it looks darker here. It still looks a lot brighter than than right here. And this may be because he has a light on. But here he doesn't have a light on. It looks extremely bright there. Right there, it doesn't look as bright. It looks kind of darker. Could there have been cloud coverage? Could there have been a situation where, when a camera is activated, that it takes a moment before it changes? And that's what we're seeing that the moment that it's activating, if he's coming around the corner, right, without his backpack, let's say he went to the back trying to, find entry, leaves the backpack there, comes back around the corner. And that's just when the phone, the camera captures his motion, starts to record. And that just so happens to be the first image. And it's not an accurate image of the lighting, is basically what I'm trying to say. And so, to me, I just think that, and then you also have the sheriff who's really against that notion that it's a different night. And so, let's see. So I just think that there's a good possibility it is the same night, and he just left the backpack. If maybe perhaps he had to jump a fence or something, and he left it on the other side. There's a lot of things, and again, this is just my speculation. I'm not saying, with 100% certainty this is what happened, and I'm not even saying that with 100% certainty he didn't come on a different night. He very well may have. I don't know. I just feel that law enforcement, and they could be lying about this, but law enforcement, the sheriff there, kind of made it seem like it was the same night. Now, there's some other things in the background that kind of allude to it being, the same night. Let me see if I can find it. Well, wrong button. And so everything, all of the shadows in the background, all the trees in the background, they were all the same size as well, same everything. So everything stayed the same over the span of a month. I doubt it. I think it's the same night. And again, like I said, we could be wrong, but when you move things around here and you start to look at all the shapes of all the trees and all the plants and everything, even on the ground, like nothing had moved. Possible, but I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I'm not going to sit up here. It's not a hill I would die on saying it's not the same night, but I would assume it is. That's my assumption. Let's go back to it. So with that being said, I just wanted to emphasize some of the things that that's happened since then. All right, let's continue this.
And it's actually, it's like a cargo van. Anyways, so the first thing that they were seeing.
So that's where I was going to go. So I've been saying this for a minute. I do not think for a second that they have a clear video of the vehicle. I think if they did, they would have released it, or they would have at least given us an idea of what kind of vehicle they're looking for, especially at this point. There's not really much to say, all right, we're waiting to see what this guy's going to do. I don't know. I think right now, if I had to take a bet, and maybe that should have been the title of the show, is law enforcement are waiting for this guy to make another move, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think, but I don't think they have a video of the vehicle. And if he had some sort of jammer on, I think he may have utilized it so that way he can get out of the neighborhood. Because this was a neighborhood that had light situation where they didn't allow light pollution and things of that nature. So you're probably not seeing, obviously, a bunch of, you're not going to have telephone pole lights. And that's kind of one of the things that caught like Brian Koberger on one of the streets. He passed by in front of a telephone or one of those light poles, got the color of the vehicle. A lot of people were saying, oh, it was green, it was this or that, because the only video that they thought law enforcement had was the one in front of the King Road residence, Yet the one on Ridge Road was color because he drove in front of a light. And because there was a light out there, it illuminated, the ground and everything, and it actually came out in color, and it was a white Elantra. And so out there, you're not going to see those things. And two, there's not going to be like obviously stoplights or anything like that out there. Everything in that neighborhood is probably stop signs and four-way stops and yield signs and things of that nature. And so the area allowed this guy to get away with this to a certain extent up to this point.
Speaking was his, and they obtained, per the property, they obtained 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and they were different swabs. So they swabbed his, they went for the buccal swab and on his person, and then they were swabbing the vehicle that he was in, the headrest of the driver's side, the headrest of the passenger side.
So they were swabbing the headrest. Why would they be swabbing the headrest? Well, we know that there was blood, and we've talked about this a bit. And one of the things that I've said is that I've strongly suspect that she was close to the ground when this occurred, due to the fact that the cluster of blood is pretty tight. It's kind of like shooting a shotgun with birdshot, right? You shoot something close, the cluster is going to be pretty close. You shoot at a distance, it's going to spread out. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Myself and Steve, Steve actually noticed it. He said, hey, usually if somebody's like bleeding, they cover, if they're bleeding from their nose or their mouth or something, and then they get up. If they're getting up off the ground, where's the handprint? Where's that? Now, the only thing that's there is this, and this is fairly small. If this could be a small partial, shoe print. This could be, if maybe she was wearing a jacket, the cuff of the jacket or something. But I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's got some sharp edges. It looks like some tread from a shoe, but without the hand to get up, makes me believe that she was restrained. But if she was, and so I'm assuming law enforcement's also believing that, and maybe because there's also a mixture of like saliva and stuff, or maybe mucus in the blood, that would make them believe that it was coughed up or sneezed out, and give them an idea to swab the headrest, right? Also, sweat for the headrest. That's true too.
And then the only other thing that they obtained, then they obtained his fingerprints, sets of his fingerprints.
So they obtained his fingerprints and DNA. What does that tell us? That tells us that they have unknown fingerprints in the house, which can be from a lot of places, right? Friend, visitor, whatever, that they just haven't fingerprinted at that point. The DNA also, it doesn't necessarily mean that the fingerprints that they have or the DNA that they have in the house necessarily belong to, the person that committed the abduction, right? But if you get if you find somebody and their DNA happens to be in their house and they shouldn't be in that house, or they claim to have never been in that house, and that's when you have something, right? It's when, like, for instance, if they find unknown DNA, they go and do, oh gosh, I don't know, IgG on it, comes back to a guy who's a post office mailman. Well, how could his DNA get in the house? Well, he could have handed the mail. Miss Guthrie touches the mail. Now she has his DNA, and then goes and touches the doorknob, and now it's there, or in the interior of the doorknob. So there's a lot of ways that can transfer back and forth. So just because they have DNA that's unidentified doesn't necessarily mean it belongs to the abductor. Same thing with the fingerprints. We all saw that this guy was wearing gloves. Doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't not. I know it's a double negative there, but It could. So that's why you got to double check. And then again, like for instance, you get this guy's DNA, Carlos, and then it comes back that DNA's in the house. Well, he was a delivery man. And if he delivered packages there, that's one way to get DNA in the house. FYI.
And then the only other thing that they took was the phone. He had a phone that they took. Now, I want to read something off to you guys, which is this. They're going to complete forensic processing of the scenes and its contents to include photographs, scene mapping, measurements, wall and or carpet cutouts, and processing for latent fingerprints and DNA. Any physical or biological material, including blood, fibers, fingerprints, bloody fluids, and all articles of clothing relating to the crime. Obtain physical characteristics of Carlos to include, but not limited to, like I said, his buccal cells, photographs, and major case fingerprints. They wanted indica of occupancy of the home, firearms, any firearms or items related to firearms to include, but not limited to handguns, rifles, shotguns, magazines, ammunition, cartridge, casings, holsters, gun cases, cleaning kits, manuals, and receipts from firearms or items relating to firearms and any other indica of ownership of possession of firearms. Electronic devices. They were seeking any cellular telephones, pagers, electronic telephone, address books, or other electronic device capable of containing or storing digital messages and the contents of their memory, and any digital messages received while in the possession of the warrants to include viewing and analysis of their contents, information on digital sessions conducted with these electronics. And then in parentheses, digital session is described as the contact the device makes with the cell tower it is near.
All right. So basically, they were looking at his cell phone activity and seeing if he was near the Guthrie residence, is all that's boiling out to. And I think that may have been what started the ball going. His phone may have connected to a tower during the time, somewhat around the time, I'm assuming. And maybe perhaps his phone may have been connecting to a tower on earlier days, maybe days that they may have an interest in, or maybe the fact that his phone was just pinging in that area multiple times, right? If they go, all right, well, his phone pinged there the morning of the incident, maybe the night of the incident or the day before, and it's pinged in that area multiple times, that's a sign that this guy is possibly casing the area. Again, we've got to remember where they were at that time. They get this amount of information from the phone analysis. They're going to try to move quick. They look at a picture of the guy, match the height and weight, or maybe look at his ID. Maybe his eyes somewhat look similar. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, the guy's wearing a mask in the video. It's going to be difficult to identify the guy. But, I'll be honest, I think the other guy looks more accurate head shape wise. But, you look at those things. Does this guy fit? Can you rule him out? Right. And then, see if he has any facial hair, that type of stuff, and then go from there. And I think they were working really quick because, again, time was of the essence at this time. Nancy Guthrie was still alive, possibly. I think everybody was hoping for that at least. And Purpose watching is being watched as we speak. I guarantee it. Misto, member for 10 months. Thank you so much. I hope so. And it could be, myself, Steve, and our mod Heather. Hey, Heather, how's it going? I see you in here. So I see Sirius. I see Mountain Mama. Good to see you guys. And I see Steelers fan earlier too. We were talking about this, and it seemed almost like Sheriff Nanos was challenging the perp. But I kind of felt like, to a certain extent, like I told everybody, I was like, I sort of feel like law enforcement are just waiting to see if this guy strikes again. And I think that they think he may. And if they think he may strike again, that should say something, right? That tells you that this is a serial type of offender. Should say something about the type of offense that they may be thinking he's committed, right? Now, they already told us they don't believe it's a burglary and that the abduction was the was the maybe perhaps the motive, right, to take her, which I agree. And we're going to go through here in a moment what items that they're looking for, and I think it points to that direction. And I've been saying this for a minute. I think that this is a fantasy driven crime. I think this guy had an obsession possibly with Savannah Guthrie, and played out that obsession with Nancy, given the relationship there, mother daughter and access, etc. And so, and I think the attention also. I think he wanted to get Savannah's attention, and he got it. He definitely did. But let's continue this.
The DNA, any physical or biological material, including but not limited to blood, fibers, fingerprints, body fluids, and articles of clothing related to this crime. Miscellaneous, and this is where I fell over.
I'm not saying that there's a possibility that there's footprints. I don't know. But they've kept that close to the vest if there is.
Miscellaneous. Any other items that may be related to the crime of violation of AZ assault/kidnapping laws, to include but not limited to clothing matching the description of the suspect in the video, backpacks, face masks, flashlights, restraints.
That one's interesting. I'm wondering if law enforcement is thinking what I'm thinking as far as the coughing of blood on the ground and no hand movement. So what possibly happened there, right? What possibly could have happened is she screamed, he hit her, or he knocked her down. If she's restrained, she can't help herself. So she may hit herself, she may strike the ground and start bleeding and then cough, and then that's where that comes out of. To get her to stop screaming. The fact that it's right there at the door should be an indication that she probably yelled for help or something, and that something happened at the door right when she gets out. To me, it's probably a yell. What do you guys think? I think it's a yell. She's probably yelling.
Shoes, victims' clothing, medical devices, medications, items belonging to the victim in this case.
So medical devices and medication and items belonging to the victim in this case, that they're looking for those items. What type of alert could they be, or devices could they be looking for? I asked, let's see if Flojo answered me back yet. Because I asked Flojo earlier. Let's see if he responded. I don't think he did yet. Okay, yeah. So not necessarily, but it could be a hearing aid, could be some certain assistive devices like that she could have had with her. So that's interesting because, like, I was thinking maybe like one of those, like if you fall, you have a button to a life alert. Maybe that's one of the things, because that's on your person probably 24/7. And so that was the first thing that came into my mind. Hearing aid, I don't know. Folks that use hearing aids, I don't think they sleep with them. And I think she was woken up in bed. So if it was like a hearing aid, he would have woken her up, allowed her to put it into her ears. I don't know. If it's something that's on her person 24/7, he would have had to have gathered that device, whatever it is. I mean, there's probably medical devices that I'm not even aware of, right? That I don't even know of, that somebody may need to take, right? And then the medication aspect. This told me that this was a situation where this was the objective, was to abduct her. He planned to take her. Reason behind that is if this was a burglary gone wrong, or if this was a fantasy driven crime that he was just planning on committing there, why take her, right? And the only things that I could think of is maybe he is somebody that she knows, maybe loosely, and he feared that she could recognize him, so she took him, or he took her. Or maybe perhaps she fought back, scratched him or something like that. and he felt that he needed to take her because his DNA was now left behind. But in those scenarios, to go back for medical devices, or more so for the medication purposes, tells me that this was planned. Because if you're in that scenario where something went wrong, something didn't go as planned, and now you're free balling and you're, going through the motions, probably under a lot of stress due to the situation that's going on, and then you're going back for medication that she needs. That just sounds like something weird to be thinking of in that moment. Let's see. Heather says she was known to wear a knee brace from time to time. Maybe that's what it is. But if it's a knee brace, he was in the house for a while. So if she went to sleep with the knee brace, he must have woken her up, taken the time to put the knee brace on her, or allowed her to put the knee brace on herself and then walk her out, which extensive amount of time to do all this. Again, this doesn't sound like something that happens, in the heat of the moment. Something went wrong and now he has to take her. And he's like, all right, well, let's put your knee brace on. Doesn't fit. That those puzzle pieces don't fit. The only way it fits is if he intended on taking her and keeping her alive. Now, why would he want to do that? Could it have been the ransom situation? Could be. Now, could it, it could definitely have been a situation where this guy kidnapped her and was planning on doing a ransom. I don't think that the ransom stuff that went to TMZ was legit. Not at all. Now, maybe perhaps it could be a distraction. Let's just say Nancy Guthrie didn't survive the initial kidnapping. Let's just say she succumbed to her injuries that she sustained as she was exiting the door. And now they are panicking and think, all right, well, let's ask for a ransom, do all this stuff, and get people looking in one way, and we'll take off and go the other way. Perhaps. But I don't think it was a legit ransom thing. Not at all. You don't contact TMZ or the media in those situations. It just doesn't make any sense. Contact the family, and you usually don't want law enforcement involved. By contacting the media, you're all but guaranteeing law enforcement is going to get involved. So that never made any sense to me. So let's see. All right, let's. So to me, basically, this is all. To me, means that maybe perhaps he wanted to keep her alive for some other reasons that are pretty horrible as well. And those are the options. Ransom. Just to get the attention of Savannah. Maybe perhaps he has some pretty perverted ideas of his own. So, I mean, this guy could be a very sick individual.
Now, together with any other fruits, instrumentalities, and evidence of the crimes of violation of AZ's assault and / kidnapping laws, that there is property, things, or persons which, and they marked off the that consists of any items or constitutes any evidence which tends to show that a public offense has been committed or tends to show that a particular person committed that public offense. This is commanded to be done. One of them says in the nighttime, which is good cause therefore have been shown to do this in the nighttime, to make a search of the above described persons, premises, or things, and if you find the same or any part thereof, or to retain such in your custody or in the custody of agencies you represent. Now, they have a search warrant here that's for the daytime, and then this one's for the nighttime. Now, this one said February, given under my hand or by my direction, this February 6, 2026. Now, I will let everybody know this, that that 6 then on this form was then crossed out with a pen and it was changed to a 10. Okay. Now, on the other ones where they're giving like the dates, a given my hand or by any direction this February 6th, nothing's crossed out. And then the third one,
That's interesting. So they had him possibly in their eyes or sights for a few days before they stopped him. Still moving fairly quickly, obviously. 4 days isn't a tremendous amount of time, but interesting. Exploring with Jim, the streamer found a knee brace, bedspread, and a size 12 beige woman's pants. Pants are expensive. New York retailer. They have been reported. I saw something like that. I think I saw something like that. I think JLR was also pointing that out, that there was some pants and things of that nature. I would assume that you would probably be looking for, I don't know, maybe some blood because of how much blood she was dripping on the pants as well. But that's interesting. That's interesting.
The 10th. Okay. So, all I can tell you is that they told us that the video did not exist on the 6th. And I told you guys that I believe that it did. Okay. So that's search warrant 1. Search warrant 2. The undersigned being first duly sworn and says that for the reasons set forth herein, he or she believes that on the persons of Carlos, on the premises, and in the vehicles, in the devices of, and then gave a phone number, between January 1st, 2026 to February 10th, 2026, that we will find anything that consists of any items or constitutes as any evidence which tends to show that a public offense has been committed or tends to show that a particular person committed that public offense. Where's the, I would just love to know what this affidavit says. Like, I mean, but it says, it doesn't say anything. I'm reading it from as is. Next, again, it's saying that it goes through that list of things like the, they want to complete a forensic processing, and they are allowed to cut out carpet cutouts, processing of latent fingerprints, scene mapping, physical or biological material, including blood fibers, obtain physical characteristics of Carlos, indica of occupancy, firearms, electronic devices. Attachment A.
So the electronic devices and his electronics and his phone, and going back to like X amount of weeks, is also to see not just the location aspect, but also the search history. You know, was he searching for her? Was he searching her address? Things of that nature. You know, they couldn't do that without the phone, in my opinion. I think they need the phone to do that. So they had to get an arrest warrant, and to make sure that he didn't destroy it or anything like that as well.
Is the electronic devices C attached? So that attachment A we do not have. DNA, and then it says that again we have 2 that are supposed to be done in the nighttime or can be, but there's 1 that's supposed to be done during the day. Based on the above facts, your affiant requests that a search warrant be issued with respect to the above described persons. Well, again, I'm looking for this affidavit, and I just reached back out to Carlos to make sure that he didn't, mess up and didn't send me one of the pages. But the affidavit has everything to do with how you obtained probable cause, and then to go after these forms, which is they obtained his DNA. Okay, they obtained his fingerprints. They took his phone. My interview with Carlos said that he told, first of all, when he was detained, it was on the side of the road, and how it ended up happening is there was no lights to say, hey, well, pull over. He saw that they were following him and his wife and his kids, so he had her pull over the vehicle. She was driving, and it's the Rogue that you see on the side of the road. The whole entire time that he was detained, he was on the side of the road. He was in one police vehicle and then gets moved to a second one, but the whole time he was actually right there off the side of the road being detained. He never went down to like the federal building or anywhere like that. The person that was actually handcuffed and restrained inside the home was actually his nephew. It was a family member, and that was not actually him. So when you hear the Josefina interview with Brian Enton, and she's talking about they hurt his arm and stuff like that, that's not Carlos. That's a family member that was inside the house. He was the only one that was inside the house at the time that they went to the home. Okay. Going back to about how this whole detention went.
So yeah, and she's just gonna. I think from here, I watched part of it or most of this. She kind of just goes on about. And I think I wanted to go to 18, but she goes on about how his rights or whatnot because of what he wasn't the guy, and I get it, but hindsight's 2020, right? In the moment, law enforcement only had so much information, and they were working with what they had, and they had to move as quickly as possible. And so, I don't. It'd be one thing if they arrested the guy, did filed charges on him, and then went through trial, and then evidence came out that he wasn't him, and et cetera. They continued the process, even though the information that they got from him and the information and the evidence that came forward after the fact, um, obviously has shown that he wasn't involved. If they continued with it, then yeah, that's bad law enforcement. But to question him based on the information that they have, I don't think that's a big deal.
My last live, the end portions of.
Now, does it like ruin the dude's life a little bit? I mean, obviously, yeah. Because he's he's under the microscope from everybody. Everybody's gonna look at him. Everybody thinks it's him or not. Either it's him or it's not him. And those that think it's him are just like a lot of people still think it's the family members or Daly or whoever. Folks can be ruthless, and
You're just joining.
I don't know. I feel for the guy, being put in a situation, but law enforcement also at the same time have a job to do, and they were trying to protect somebody whose life was and is possibly still in danger. Let's see. I think there was more that I wanted to show because I think she pulled up part of it.
Get the hell down.
So there was part of the interview. I don't know if it was here, but one of the things that was interesting was that he had spoken about the van and his van having like GLS on the side of it, and it was large. And again, that kind of tells me that if law enforcement were searching that with the large insignia on the side, they have, at this time at least, had little footage of no footage at all of a vehicle leaving the area. And that's kind of the information I've been saying for a while. I've been saying that for a minute. Like, hey, I think they don't have the vehicle information. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know much about it. And at this point, for them to be going into that vehicle, because if you see a car, what judge is going to say, all right, you got a video of a car that could potentially be a Nissan or a Hyundai or some sort of compact vehicle. What judge is going to say there and say, all right, we're going to give you a warrant for this guy's van? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it doesn't seem right. So I personally think that they don't have a picture of the vehicle. And which goes back to the whole jammer thing and what it is that some of these some of these thieves have been able to do. And I'll go back to this video of what it looks like.
This doorbell camera
Those
video
that are
shows
just
what
coming
Bel Air,
in.
Texas police say are skilled
And as you can see, the guy's wearing he has a backpack up, but look at how full the backpack looks.
thieves approaching a suburban home. But look what happens as they get closer. The camera starts to glitch and the picture warps, all because police say the thieves are using a jammer, a small device that disables a home's Wi-Fi. It's something security systems rely on.
They're not hard to get. I think they cost about $60 or $70. These jammers usually work for a very short range, 10 to 20 feet.
Police say the
10 to 20 feet. If this guy's vehicle is not on camera because he had a jammer in his car and it was affecting the houses around it, then he manipulated the jammers and he has the knowledge on how to do that, right? And what information do we have that potentially would make us believe that he had a jammer that could possibly affect something a long distance away? Well, Nancy Guthrie's neighbors reported camera issues at their house. I guarantee you their homes are further than 10 to 15 feet away from where this guy was. Right? So, kind of, go full circle here. Him being up front and being seen on camera is on purpose. Not being able to see him on any other camera is also on purpose, including the getaway car. And that's just my opinion. If his device was able to disrupt the cameras from neighbors' houses, I'm sure it would disrupt as he's driving by as well. So again, we should not underestimate this guy. I think this guy's far more intelligent than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Midwest comes in with a super sticker for $1.99. Thank you so much, Midwest. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Use of Wi-Fi jammers is growing, ramping up just.
And only $70. But, you need to be able to boost that, right?
As the holiday season peaks, with criminals targeting packages left on the doorstep. Police say this thief outside Chicago went low-tech, no Wi-Fi jammer, instead a food delivery bag to disguise his reason for approaching the house. But watch what he does once at the front door, stuffing packages into the bag and then running when the family returns.
They got spooked and the driver warned him, gave him a couple honks to let him know that we were pulling in, and then he ran.
Security experts say to protect your deliveries.
The first thing is you can get a hardwired system that is not dependent on Wi-Fi.
There it is. Get a hardwired system, not dependent on Wi-Fi. Well, guys, anybody got any questions? I'll do some questions for the next 5 minutes. Put some stars in there so that way I know you're talking to me. Let me know your thoughts and theories. If you guys think I'm wrong on something, let me know why you think I'm wrong, and we'll work it out. Let me know. Hey, I think this, and we'll work it out. I want to get Steve from True Crime back on the channel. Me and him have had some amazing conversations about this case, and I think that a lot of back and forth dialogue, and I think everybody would really appreciate that. Let's see. Why would he take the camera if he had one? Maybe perhaps he got cold feet on it, right? Perhaps he thought, okay, I want you to see me, blah, blah, blah. He comes back without it, right? Maybe he's like, you know what? Brian Koberger, I'm just throwing this out. Brian Koberger may have gotten cocky and left a knife sheath behind. That's what got him caught. Maybe perhaps he's thinking, maybe it's not a smart idea to leave my image there. Let me go take the camera. But that's a good point. Why would he take the camera if he had one? Then again, maybe he realized that it wasn't working. Maybe when he goes around to the back of the house and he takes off the backpack or whatever, and he realizes the jammer wasn't on. It turned off. I don't think so, mainly because of the way, and I'll bring up the video real quick. Let me find where he's walking up. Right there. So he looks down right away, and I think this is all for show. And I've been saying this for a moment. I think the house to the left of the direction of the camera is facing. So I don't want to say this direction. It's probably this direction here. Is the way he's walking. And I always felt that he was doing that on purpose. Over here on this side of the house is a home with a camera. And so I wondered about that. But, him looking down and the way he's walking, see, he turns on the light. And then he looks straight down, turns on the light, looks straight down. I think if he had a jammer and he knew it was on, or he thought it was on, I don't think he's making those weird movements. Right. But I think that there's a good possibility that maybe perhaps he thought, maybe I shouldn't leave that there. And then he goes and takes the camera. Too dumb, in my opinion, grabbing flowers to cover his face, but has a jammer. I don't know. Seems I don't know if he was doing that with the flowers. As you can see, he's not really doing anything with them behind the camera. He's trying to, some people were saying that maybe he was trying to place it behind and he was trying to use it to pull off the camera. What if he was trying to set him up there and it was like a sign? BTK used to, I think he used to do something outside of his houses too. Right? BTK, I think he used to like wrap something, bind some string or something outside of the house that it was his his victim's house that he was going to go and attack. Just to say this is some sort of message. Putting flowers up there or plants or weeds or whatever you want to call it. Also be trying to cover the camera, could be trying to do a lot of things. Then again, maybe this is the first time he's utilized the jammer and isn't sure of its capabilities and just doesn't want to make sure. Just odd stuff. I agree. Very odd. A lot of odd stuff. Sirius said BTK. BTK, yeah. Did you say? Let's see. Did you and I have a jinx? But yeah, I just, like I said, I don't necessarily want to. Like I said, if this guy was some idiot, some stupid dude goes in there, man, this has gone up the chain of command with the FBI all the way up to the president of the United States. They're putting on a lot of efforts and a lot of technology and a lot of resources towards this case. And some idiot has outsmarted him. Just kind of not on the same page there. I think this guy might be a little bit more intelligent that we're giving him credit for. And I think that he wanted people to see the gun. I think he wanted people to see his get up at one point. Maybe perhaps he got cold feet on that, decided he didn't want to do that, and that's why he took the camera. But I think he initially wanted everybody to see him. All righty, guys. I'm going to be back on Tuesday. Tomorrow if you guys are into football, I'll be talking about my favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's on my hat on a channel called the Steel Curtain Network on a show called the Steelers Hangover with my buddies Tate and Shannon White. We'll be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Mondays, I don't do anything with unless there's like some really major breaking news, then maybe perhaps I'll go on afterwards. But outside of that, you'll see me guys on Tuesday. So we'll see you guys then. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. If you're catching this at the end, please rewind. I'd appreciate this. If you see the hype button, please hit the hype button. I'd appreciate that. You guys are amazing. Wait, I think I see one question. Do you think he will do this again? I think he will try, especially if this was a fantasy-driven deal and he's gotten away with it. There is no doubt in my mind that he's going to want to redo it. And so, yes, I do think he will try it again. You guys have a great night. And a safe weekend. Peace out, y'all.